our session today. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Caren and I am the principal of the Wells School. It's so nice to see. I know so many faces on here, but there's so many new faces as well, which is really, really exciting. So for those of you returning to the Wells School, you know you are always welcome, and I love to see you on here. And for those of you that are new, then welcome to the Wells School. This is the way the Wells School functions normally without any pandemic going on. This is our virtual classroom. And how we spend time with many of our students from across the UK and around the world. But during this pandemic, we've been opening up our virtual classroom to qualified aromatherapists around the UK and beyond, just to offer a place of connection and support. And we are really hot about community within the Wells School. So it's been incredible to get to know and meet so many more of you. Maybe a silver lining around a very dark cloud. So yes, so that's a little bit about me. Towards the end of the session, I'll tell you a little bit more about other things that we have available that might be of interest to you as well. But you're not here to listen to me witter on. You're here to listen to lovely Melanie, who is an incredible human being, all-round human being, but is very talented and makes chemistry fun. For those of you who like chemistry, then I bow down. Well done. I find it not quite so much fun, but Melanie does make it fun and incredibly pretty, actually, with beautiful colors. We use Melanie's incredible website as a resource to support our chemistry learning within the school, and it really is absolutely incredible, and I'm so excited to share it with you. If you haven't yet seen it, I hope that you'll be excited about chemistry as much as what we are when we use it. But I shall pass over to Melanie. Melanie, thank you so much for giving us your time today. I so appreciate you being willing to do this with us.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure. And hello, everybody. It's incredible to have you at such a huge group, because this was a spur of the moment kind of thing we decided to do. Today we just put 3 topics. We put say goodbye to endless research to find antiviral oils, and how to get the answers you have right now. I want to focus on the essential oils that you have at home and what you can do with them, and get the most potential out of them right away. And then maybe give you some tips on what you shouldn't or should do or expect from antimicrobial essential oils. And then show you some tricks and tips on blending, and not just blending, but more about synergy and synergy within the essential oils, and then single essential oils, and then in essential oils as a blend. But Karen was just talking about a few minutes ago, if you have any questions, because this is more about you guys than it is about us really, type it down on the chat so we can address them as soon as possible. If you have any question, anything you'd like to address a bit more, or
and if you're new to Zoom, you'll find the chat option. If you're on a laptop, if you take your cursor down to the bottom of the screen, the toolbar will pop up, and that will give you the option for chat. So you can click on that and you can post any questions you've got for Melanie in there. And if Melanie is busy presenting, then I'll read out the questions. But also, if we don't cover a particular oil that you have in your kit that you would like to know more about, then just pop that oil in the chat box and we'll try and cover as many oils as we possibly can. The other thing to note is there's no PowerPoint, there's no, you're going to get an email with all these notes taken. So grab a pen and paper if you haven't already done so. Flex your fingers, some finger stretches, ready to make as many. Yes, good, Andrea, very nice. A little bit of finger Pilates, lovely. I'm a Pilates teacher. That was quite random if you didn't know that. But yes, a little bit of finger stretches to get you going, and get ready to write as much as possible. Just putting that out there. There are no notes to follow up this session, only the notes that you are going to take. Okay?
Although, Karen, you can sign up. I have until the end of April open Power Drops. It's completely free workshop online that you can then watch all kinds of my videos, and also a lot of material that we're giving out on this current situation, recipes and stuff. So you can subscribe if you like to. Okay, so should we share my screen somehow?
Let's go.
Let's see if I still remember how to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna use my Dropsmith to kind of guide you through all of this, because this is my cheat sheet. That's why I made it. Okay, so are you seeing? Everybody's seeing, and I'm gonna put you guys here so I see you. Oh, and Caren, how do I put the chat so I can see the? But you're gonna tell me questions, right?
I think. Shall I just read out the chat box to you?
Well, if there's something you want me to address.
Yeah, if something comes up, it will pop up, I think, at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, so what I wanted to start off with was antiviral oil. So this is my platform, Dropsmith, if you're familiar with it. If not, it's about essential oils and their properties and properties of chemical components. So I just want to show you how you can use that with the oils that you have right now. And the questions I've been getting a lot, and because we did the workshop for this situation here, a lot of questions are about antiviral essential oils and antimicrobial, of course, how to disinfect hands and areas, but also a lot about how we feel and, for example, how to put down stress, how to feel better. Courage is something that was interesting that came up, anxiety. So I want to show you how perhaps the oils that you have these properties, but you just were not aware of. And if I put antiviral here in Dropsmith, you will see that there's like over 100 oils that are associated with antiviral. So it's far more. I'm hoping that what you already thought, because we keep on, for antiviral, for example, we keep on remembering the same oils. We know, for example, the Eucalyptus globulus is antiviral. We all know tea tree. These are the oils that we kind of reach out for. But look, there's like a lot more options. That is great news. And I want to show you, for example, with oils such as Eucalyptus radiata, for example, that in Dropsmith comes up under antiviral. Okay, so let me just show you. So we're talking about Eucalyptus radiata right now. And if you read some journals, books, whatever, you would see that it's quite often associated with things that like antiviral infections and things like that, and it's useful. And after we look at application here, you would see that it is also recommended for that. So in Dropsmith, when you look at a single essential oil, these properties are all based on scientific evidence. So if you look at it, we do have antibacterial, and these are the bacterials that we found it was effective on. We have antifungal, we have a lot of things, but what you don't see is antiviral. So what's up with that, Didn't I just say that it was antiviral? And now I'm telling you that we don't have research to cover that. And actually, I asked one of my research ladies to check that out, to double check if Eucalyptus radiata really doesn't have any research on in English on antiviral. But if you look here, under respiratory conditions, you would see that one of the people who recommended and mentioned it in their article recommended it for not respiratory conditions, but because of antiviral activity. So that makes you think, how was he so sure to address that, And I know that Dominic Bordeaux comes from Pranaroma, and that they also have their own research team, so they might be something I didn't read. But definitely, if you look at the chemical components of this essential oil, you will see that the chemical components are found to be antiviral. So
Melanie,
is it a bit too fast to follow?
No. Some of the ladies are asking, what are the different colors?
Here.
Yes.
Sorry. So when this part is about the essential oil as a synergy, as Eucalyptus radiata. So we have this scientific properties, the traditional and scientific application on it, and safety of Eucalyptus radiata. But when you scroll down, you see the colors of this particular, and then you see what these are the functional groups. So if you expand all, you will see the complete chemical breakdown of this particular essential oil, and the little chemical components with the arrow actually have research on them. This is the juicy part I'm getting to, that people are usually afraid of. You know, the chemistry part, it's just too much work, too much calculating. So I try to make it simple for you to make it applicable. And the yellow part are the monoterpene oxides. And it's a really good question that you did ask that, because over 70% of Eucalyptus radiata, this particular one, is 1,8-cineol. And don't you know that 1,8-cineol does have a lot of research that covers its antiviral properties? So let me just scroll down to it. Who knew that Eucalyptus radiata was so saturated in 1,8-cineol? Can I have hands up? Okay, I'm seeing few hands. So see, here you see that antiviral evidence. And I would like to use this moment just to remind you all that just because an oil is antibacterial or antiviral does not mean it will work on that specific virus. And this is something Tisserand is trying to get across a lot lately, that just because an essential oil is antiviral does not mean it will work on this virus. But this is what we have right now to work with. Okay. And why am I now concentrating on 1,8-cineol? Is I'm coming to that moment of hoping to give you more choices with the oils that you already have at home. And I will come to that in a second. So on this right side here, what we do in Dropsmith is we add up the properties of the chemical components. So as you see, it's not just, and you can write this down and take a screenshot if you want. It might help you later. All of these chemical components have been found antiviral. So alpha-pinene, for example, we can check it out. It's in almost all conifers, and it sometimes dominates conifers a lot. So it's a property that will be useful at this time. Let me make it a bit bigger so you see it. Also, beta-pinene is often in conifers. 1,8-cineol is like in almost every single essential oil. It's just at the percentage that it's in there. Limonene, all your citruses are very rich in limonene, and see it has antiviral properties. So, you know, just grab that sweet orange, and it does have that property. You might not have known that. Terpinolforol, we all know that that's in tea tree, don't we? So, but just let's concentrate back on 1,8-cineol for a moment. And why I want to do that is to show you how to have more flexibility with the oils that you already have. So one of the myths I would like to address here is, I don't know if you heard, but sometimes in literature, they recommend Eucalyptus radiata for children instead of Eucalyptus globulus. But take a look at safety. It's the same as Eucalyptus globulus. And now maybe it's more clear why, because it's just as rich in 1,8-cineol as it is Eucalyptus globulus. So it's just as effective also on the respiratory system and the antimicrobial. Is this making any sense? Is it good so far? Okay. So now that we know...
Melanie, sorry, yes. Someone is asking, if you don't have the oil by this company, can we still use this information?
Great question. So let me show you that in the catalog, because we have all kinds of different companies, and I wanted to address this question myself. So in case of eucalyptus, oh, I spelled it wrong, right? And then you can check that out. See, in case of Eucalyptus radiata, they're pretty much very similar. And let's compare eucalyptuses. So you can see that all the eucalyptuses that are rich in 1,8-cineol, the yellow color, might be useful for that. Your question would be for oils such as Eucalyptus globulus or Eucalyptus radiata, or for example, citruses. You'll see that citruses are quite similar. So I think it's not that crucial that you know which company it's from, because as you see, lemon and lemon and lemon, it's chemically quite the same. But if you look at something like yarrow, I spelled it wrong again. Yeah, it's a world of difference. So this would be great to know which company you're using. Although yarrows are not even chemotyped, isn't that like obvious that needs to be done? But if you click on any of them, the properties still stay the same, you know, because we have research on this particular essential oil. No matter the chemical components, the application and properties, and this part stays the same for the oil. It doesn't matter which company it is. It's this part that's very, very different. And of course, these percentages then add up different. And that's the part I'm curious about, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I created Dropsmith, to address that issue.
So we have another couple of questions, Melanie.
Yeah.
First question, which other chemical components have antiviral properties? 1.8 cineol, pinene, limonene. And then the second question is, what is the green area?
The green areas are the sesquiterpene. Actually, let me show you. See here, you can see sesquiterpenes, diterpenes, aromatic hydrocarbons, and other. So all hydrocarbons that are not monoterpene. That's the green area. It's actually it's the more rare. It's the ones that I like. Antiviral chemical components, there's a lot. So that might be something that we can somehow maybe address later. Or if you go to Dropsmith and click on any oil that let me just see, for example, like Eucalyptus globulus, and then you can get here antiviral, and you get more information on which ones are antiviral in this specific essential oil, but they will also be antiviral in any essential oil. So that's a way you can start and collect that information.
And then another question, can we cross-reference with a chemical breakdown from the oil supplier with your information as well?
Can you run that by me again? Can we?
If we don't have the oil by this particular company, can we then cross-reference with a chemical breakdown from the oil supplier with your information as well?
Well, as I said, it depends on the oil. Some oils are very different. Some are similar. Most of them are in between. So if you look at, for example, pine oils, they are all quite similar. But you can also see that in Dropsmith, the essential oils that come up kind of the same. You can predict that the one you're using are, and you can always then cross-reference, as in look at the GCMS of the oil that you're using with the GCMS that we're providing. We are trying to get more and more oils in, but it's just a long process, you know, of companies trusting me. Some companies don't want to be there with other companies. It's
political.
You know, I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible, but I can only do so much. But let me come back to 1.8 cineol, so you know why I showed it to you in the first place. I want to show you 1.8 because I would like you to start using this information. So if we have 1.8 cineol, we know all the wonderful properties about it, and the safety issues around it. So let's look at how many oils we have with over 20%, which is significant. And see how much oils we got. We got like over 80 essential oils. So these are all oils that you might not have thought that have antiviral potential. So I would like to just to have a disclaimer again here, just because it's antiviral doesn't mean it will be on this particular virus, and it doesn't mean that's 100% effective, because it is a cocktail. But I would like to show you something like rosemary. I think we all have rosemary in our cupboard. So I'll just click this one, although this one is not chemotyped. That's interesting. Let's find one that is. This one was. Did you know that rosemary has alpha pinene chemotype? I actually didn't until I started Dropsmith. So the reason I wanted to show you rosemary is because we all know it's effective of many things, and we all try to, for example, if we think of an infection, or especially viral, we think of the eucalyptuses, right? That's the first, at least that's the first I think. I'm not gonna put cinnamon on me, so I'm thinking something that I can put on my skin. But look at this. Look at how many, other things a rosemary has that's also antiviral and all these other cool stuff. It's actually a more complex blend than eucalyptus globulus. And why am I showing you this? This is where I'm going into I'm going to try and go a little bit into blending now. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was learning aromatherapy and, trying on a lot of hats and a lot of different schools and approaches, one of the approaches was to, if I want to, I want to accent 1,8-cineol for the respiratory system, then I will take something like rosemary and eucalyptus and put it together to have more 1,8-cineol. How many of you have heard that? But if what you're actually doing is diluting, because if I want something because of 1,8-cineol, then I will use just eucalyptus globulus. But if I want something more complex, then using rosemary is more complex in a way than just eucalyptus globulus or them together. Because if I would add eucalyptus globulus to rosemary, I would just dilute all of these good stuff with rosemary, and I will dilute 1,8-cineol with the rosemary. So either way, my goal was not very clear. Am I confusing you or making sense? Should I show you this in the blend?
Yes, I think that might be, you can see it better if you start putting a blend together. But just before you shoot off to do a blend, Sue had asked a really good question. When you searched for pine, lots of oils came up. Is this because it is picking out other chemicals as well as the names of the oil?
Oh, when you write something in search, it's picking up everything that has been mentioned in a certain oil. So it might have been mentioned as in a blend, or that it does well with a pine, or in the Latin name, or something like that. So whatever you put in search, it finds every oil that's associated with that word.
Would it also pick up the chemical component pinene?
No, if you search for chemical components, you do that in the filter.
But if you were to put a pine in that top search button there, it wouldn't then bring up oils that has got pinene in it necessarily.
No. This is, the chemical components have their own compartment. They are so special.
Melanie, you're so lush.
They have their own little thing going on here, so you can look.
Sue, I hope that answers the question.
And then we can look for alpha pinene, because we said that has antiviral as well. So see, we put, for example, more than 20% here. Then we'll have even more. See, there's that rosemary again. I told you. Okay, so can I blend and show you what I meant with, because this is something that I think comes up quite often, that people...
I think this is the really exciting bit, Melanie, when you start putting a blend together. Hold on to your hats, ladies. This is exciting.
So I'm gonna just put down the eucalyptus that we're using, and I'm gonna choose one that's more dynamic because I just like more things going on. So this one I will put here so I can show you that, and in a blend. So add blend, and then we want a rosemary. So I'll put rosemary cineol because that's like the typical thing people like to use. So this one. And so here you have the icons you just add on a blend. But what I want to show you is, and here is just a simple game we're doing. And I'm going to use drops. You can use whatever you want. And I'm going to make it private because just for you guys, and 1:1. But I can make the ratio whatever I want. And you see, it changes the chemistry right away. So this is for me because I like to have fun like that. Okay, so let me show you now what I meant. So this is our cineol blend. Let's say our intention for blending eucalyptus globulus and rosemary was to bring out that cineol in it, so it will be very nice and even more antiviral. So here at the top of the blend, we have, it adds up everything. So we had 1:1 ratio. So when it says 100% anti-inflammatory, it means that both eucalyptus globulus and rosemary, this chemotape, has been found scientifically to have all these properties, both of them. So the point of blending in Dropsmith is to give you more options. So for example, you'll see that putting rosemary in one and eucalyptus globulus has all these wonderful things. You know, it can be used for air purification. This is one thing that's also come up very often here. Headaches, fatigue, concentration, atmosphere, as in negative atmosphere as well. Madeleine suggests uplifting, something that has come up. So this is the part of what to do with the oil. But this is what I want to show you. So see, we diluted. We have 47% of cineol when we blend 1 drop of eucalyptus and 1 of rosemary. Whereas if we have just eucalyptus globulus, we have 66.55. So do you get my point now, that what I wanted to show you? If you put them together, you did not add more cineol in there. You actually diluted it. Is this useful? This is something I wanted to get across because it's been often misunderstood. It's not a bad thing that we put them together. It's just that you know why you're doing it. And when I want, and also see my beautiful rosemary, obviously I have a thing for rosemary because I have low blood pressure, so it helps me out. Is it has all these wonderful things, as in very diverse chemistry, because I really do enjoy that it has so many monoterpenes that have their own properties. You know, one of them also includes antiviral that we're talking about way too much today. And then the camphor at such a dose that it's still useful if you're not a child, with wonderful things for the respiratory system. And then I have the 1,8-cineol there at just the right dose, so it's actually kind of safer in that at the concentration than the eucalyptus globulus. And what I did with the blend, I also diluted my beautiful dynamics. See, it's a lot more 1,8-cineol. So why am I telling you this? It's just to think of the power your oil as a single oil has. Because, for example, in this case, where it comes to respiratory system, I think my choice would be rosemary because it's just more dynamic. But if you want to get really, really, clear on why you're using something, and you really want to accent 1,8-cineol because that's the way you think you should go, then eucalyptus globulus is something that I think you want to use just that. You have to be clear on what your intention is. But blending is absolutely useful. And do you want me to show you something a bit different, or now to go to a normal blend? What do you prefer?
Something a little bit different, Melanie.
When I use this kind of thinking is a friend of mine, and this is also on the webinar, on the course that's available. She is a pharmacist that also does a clinical aromatherapy in her pharmacy, and she just ran out of Ravinsara, completely. And this is something I do, but I can do it for you guys as well. And so I thought, but Ravinsara is quite easy to copy. So this is something you can do with your oils, because if you write in Sarah, see, they're all quite similar. And in here, this is, okay, let me show you. I won't show off that much. Because I do know what's inside, you know. The reason I do know what's inside is because before I made Dropsmith is I actually drew all these for my students for like 10 years. So that's why I know what's inside. So if you look at the main components in Ravensara, it's quite predictive actually. It has a lot of monoterpenes, and to be precise, it's sabinin. So let's remember, or just try and follow me. So we have sabinin as a main component here, although we do have beta-pinene, you see the alpha-pinene, but let's concentrate on sabinin. With the monoterpene alcohols, these are the two main ones that you will find, the red ones. So it's alpha-terpenol and terpene-4-ol, which for some of you might resonate as in tea tree. Or kaiput, do you say it in English? Kaput, Drake, how do you say it?
Oh, well, I'm Welsh, so I'm not very good at pronouncing English things, so I'm really the wrong person to be asking, but I would say in a very Welsh accent, Cajaput, but I don't think that's right.
Well, we'll see it in visual. And then we have, of course, 1,8-cineol. Okay, so let's try and remember that. And I will now try to reconstruct it, okay, in front of you guys, because it's just so much fun to do so. So first I want to look for sabinin, because that one I do not know by heart in which oils it is. Okay, so what I want to do for you is to try and use oils that are not expensive and oils that you probably have at home. Okay, so I think juniper is an oil that probably most people have at home, at least my students in this area. It's something that's local and that they use. So let's find a typical juniper. I like the one at the top actually, because it has a lot of monoterpenes. So let's use this one in the blend. So that's going to cover our sabinin. Then we said alpha terpenol. This was the one we are looking for, right? So we can do this two ways. So here, okay, how did you say in your accent?
Cajaput.
Cajaput. In my language you say kaput. So
that sounds nicer.
Well, we know which oil we're talking about. This one actually has a lot of cineol and a lot of the other monoterpene alcohols that we need. Or we can be more creative and have two more oils, so put in tea tree and eucalyptus globulus. So which way do you want to do? Would you want to do just two oils, or you want to do three? Can I see you guys? What do you want to do? 2 or 3 oils to reconstruct Ravensara?
Hands up, everybody. We'll go for the majority.
3?
I think 3 is the winner. Yeah.
3, yeah, because
yes.
2 is boring. Okay, so I thought so, because...
sorry to all those who had 2 fingers up.
So let's find tea tree. Or maybe find a tea tree that has... Just see. Okay, so let's see which one has like more. Huh. It would be more precise if we use this one, just so you know. But let's use 3 oils. Where is my tea tree? Here we have a tea tree. Okay, so add to blend, and then the last one we want to do is something for 1,8-cineol, and that one will be in our eucalyptus globulus. So, but you can also search it if you don't believe me, put in the chemical components section. So this is our fake Ravensara test. And here, if you use this, just write as much as possible. It's for you, but for us, it's fun. So let's see how Ravinsara looks like. This is Ravinsara. We want like this amount, that. So this is the, I think we might need a bit more of cineal here. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
This looks kind of right. We don't have enough of the alcohols. It's your fault. Just so you know. You wanted 3 oils. You're ruining my experiment. Anyway, so here we have our fake Ravinsara. And see, where is our Sabinen? It would have been better with the other one. I can show you the comparison. So here we have Sabinen at a reasonable percentage. But we also have really cool alpha pinene is here. I'm going to show you the ones that I did before as well. And here we have the terpineol and alpha terpineol. This one is not really that, it's still close, but not that close. But we got all the components we wanted with the oils that we had at home. But let me just show you what I did for the other class in my dashboard. Here, where is my fake Ravinsara? Here's my other one. And this is even easier because I just had 2. I had the oil we will not pronounce anymore and the juniper. And see, this one is much closer. It has a lot of sabinin. It has 12, which is almost the same as the real thing. Is this Ravinsara? Yeah. See, 14 here.
Melanie, could you do this for any oil?
No, but I can do for many. The thing is what you want to get. This one is very close, but for example, I do this with neroli, you know.
Ooh.
But the thing is, you will not get the smell. You know,
that was going to be my next question. Yeah.
Well, with this, because cineal has a very intense, dominating smell, I think it might even smell kind of like it. Because, but with neroli, might be. Do you want to see my fake neroli? I have it somewhere.
Yes, please.
You guys are so getting me sidetracked. This was supposed to be about.
This never happens when we get together, does it, Melanie?
No, never, ever. So you guys should just stop us and ask questions, because otherwise we'll just go completely off topic. Where is my fake neroli? It's one of these guys, I think. Yeah, it's limnan linalool. No, this is linalool acetate. Let me see. I think it's this. And let's get neroli so you can compare it. So you just don't have to blind me. Trust me. Neroli. So let's see. Maybe this one. So neroli, also it's not that hard to copy because we have a lot of limonene and beta pinene. So you can get this, no problem. This is like in a lot of oils. Then alcohols, it's a lot of linalool. That's easy. That's like whole wood right there. And then monoterpene, then a little acetate, you know, and geranyl acetate. This is something you can get in clary sage. And so you can copy it quite similar, quite easily.
So Melanie, we've had a question. When putting in the percentage of the oils, are you just guessing how much to put in as part of the blend?
Or your blend should be all about your goal. This is just fun, you know. This is just something fun and hopefully useful for you guys at this time, because you might want certain properties of an oil that's expensive that you don't have, you know. And it's just I wanted to present this kind of thinking to you to go the step beyond, and with this tool you can really do it accurately. But definitely how to go about a blend is what you want to do with it. Is it, and this is what I'm giving the option to you, if it's for a clinical person, you know, like Ravinsara ran out because of its amazing antimicrobial properties and the effect it has on the respiratory system, and that is because of its chemical components, you know. So then it makes sense to go about this way. But for example, neroli, you want to use for the smell and for the effect of that synergy, for anxiety, for the emotions, you usually use it for that. And then I would not take it, then I would actually use the oil itself. Also, you have to be really, really clear on your goals. This is something I learned with my students more than mine, because when you have case studies, I noticed that every time their homework didn't work, the case study wasn't as effective, was when they got lost in the goal. So it's really easy to get lost in the goal with essential oils because you can do so much. So for example, their official goal was to relieve pain. But then, these oils that are for pain, let me show you. These oils that are for pain are very often also for emotional healing and for stress, because of that linalool and plus linalool acetate combination, that's good for physical and emotional pain quite often. And we have lots of oils like that here, And so then they would want to do, I'm doing pain, but they got lost. They wanted to do stress, and then they can do sleep, and they have like 3 or 4 goals instead of 1, and you cannot follow anymore. So then it gets kind of vague. And although, yeah, of course, you can do more things at once, I would recommend that you have just one very clear goal you're working on, and that way you can also then modify your blends. So if you don't have too many oils, if you have like 3, like you saw, I could reconstruct better with 2 than 3, because I have much more control. It's the same when you have a client. If you have a blend with 5 oils, it's far harder to know which one you should change and which one is working, which one is not, than when you have 3. I usually have as less as possible, because it gives me more control of what's inside and what I need to add or deduct to make it very effective. And when you know what's in there, and of course safety and all other stuff, then you can get really, really narrow into what you want to do. The more you know, that's the whole point of Dropsmith. The more you know, the more you can really get targeted on what you want to help with. Did I manage to answer? I hope.
So, someone else has asked, Ravinsara or Ravintsara?
Yes, very good question. We had a long discussion and which to use before we decided, with several different. It wasn't my decision, just to kind of put a disclaimer on me. It was the botanical people with the pharmaceutical people and all the people who do that kind of stuff. And then we decided, because there's the whole confusion with Ravinsara. Ravinsara, then the cinnamon camphora craziness, because you have a lot of oils that depending on the chemotype. Let me show you that as well.
Because the Ravinsara on your website is actually listed under a different name, isn't it?
Ravinsara, yeah, because it's a completely different oil. And we then decided to call it Ravinsara because this is the more accepted version if you consider all the research and botanical and blah, blah, blah. That's why we use it. But if you look at people who sell essential oils, there are a lot of things they're not agreed on, and some people call it lavender, some people call it soft lavender, and so we had to decide what we're going to name things. But we do have synonyms in our in the database. So for example, if you write German chamomile, although we decided to call it blue because this is more acceptable in the botanical world, you will still find it. So we try to use as much synonyms as possible that different sellers and aromatherapists use, so you can always find what you're searching for. But we had to decide on a name that will show. It wasn't my call. And also for the Latin name, Latin name just because it's the name this month does not mean that will be next month. And this is also something we have to keep up with. And we also have some names for Latin names. So if you're used to an oil under a certain Latin name, you can search for it in Dropsmith, although it might not be showing. So, and we were considering of showing that to you on the oil here as well, but it's just so much information. We wanted to make it as clear as possible. So you guys, this is already too much information. That was the hardest thing to do, how to provide all the information you should have about the essential oil without kind of overwhelming you. And often people are overwhelmed with all of this. But all of this, I think it's extremely necessary that you know where is it from, you know how it was grown, and then this can help you understand more about the oil itself and these properties. And then what I like to do is compare properties of the essential oil to the properties of the chemical components, and then just...
So someone has asked, so for a respiratory blend, would you use Ravensara or Ravintsara?
Ravintsara.
Ravintsara. Mm-hmm.
But it's best that you always use the Latin name. Then we all know what we're talking about, or we should know, unfortunately. Because as I showed you, I wanted to show you here, Cinnamomum camphora, for example, has different chemotypes. So Holwood is actually the same plant as Ravintsara. Did you know that? And then there is another one that we don't have in the database yet. That's camphor. So I don't think we should go into that, because then I'll get even more confused. But that's something, if you guys think it's useful, we can do another one and talk about things like that. There's a lot of things that are not clear in aromatherapy, and I think that's because there are so many other professions that we are touching upon with aromatherapy. You know, we use essential oil, yes, but we are connecting to you know, things in pharmacy. We have to know a lot about that. We have to know about chemistry. We have to know about biology. There's just so many different areas that we have to cover, and then it gets hard and confusing, and we miss little details. And this is what I'm trying to do with Dropsmith. I'm trying to put it all together so that we can get some you know, so we can agree on things, so we can have some standards, so it's easier for us to move forward. So first, what we're doing now is collecting all the data, and then the next step, I'm hoping to inspire, and I'm including a lot of other professionals like laboratories and scientists, so that we can kind of get all on the same page. And, you know, let's talk about these chemotypes. What defines a chemotype? Because you will see with rosemary, for example, you know, and check it out yourself, a verbenon chemotype, that does not necessarily mean it has more verbenon than camphor in it, by the way. Does not make it safer. You have to see what's in the oil you're using. I saw some rosemary's chemotype verbenon that has more camphor than the camphor chemotype. And that's because it defines the amount of verbenon, which is rare. So it's just things like that I'd like to get cleared up, and I think we need to get laboratories together to agree on things. And I have a lot of work to do, as you can see.
Melanie, just a couple of questions. So please, can we have the best antiviral oils recommendation? And then maybe before we dive down that rabbit warren, someone is asking, there seems to be so many different essential oil brands on the market. How would you suggest we go about choosing?
Well, both very touchy questions. So let's talk about brands first. Oh, this is my least favorite question, by the way, because I know personally all of the people who are on here, like they're directors, and they're all wonderful people and all have different ideas. So in my experience, and I not only worked with a lot of distillers, the little ones, I know the big ones as well. And I've been to, one thing I recommend if you're not doing is, if any chance you have, go and see a distiller and their stills, and everybody's very proud of them, so they're going to show it to you. So as somebody who's been physically there and seen how different people do it, and the whole process, and then working with a lot of pharmacists and that point of view as well, it's really hard, you know. It's really hard about what is quality. Quality is, in my opinion, from what I learned from people I work with, it's a matter of opinion a lot of times, you know. It's what you're looking for. So so pharmacists, when I work with them, for them a quality oil means that you know, it went through all the standards, that it's the packaging, it has been perfect, and that they have all the analysis, everything's done proper, and then of course it's standardized how much certain component has to be inside, and then that's a quality oil, you know. For another person, quality means that it's been done biodynamically, that there has been this certain respect for the land, for picking, time of picking, you know, and how it was distilled, that it was distilled properly. What does that mean, being distilled properly, you know? Because I've seen both sides of the story. I've seen small distillers who love what they're doing, but the hygienic is like not something I would use in a hospital. You just can't, you know, because when that hydrolat comes out, it's not closed, and it's not, you know, you just can't do that. And it's quality for me. It's a hard question, because I kind of see everybody's opinion, and I definitely what you should check out is that the oil is an essential oil that's in there. That's something that also hard, by the way. It's also hard to know if not only if the, okay, let's say that there is an essential oil in the bottle that you bought, but how was that oil made? Was it, you know, I saw big distillers who have like a whole bunch of helichrysum ready to distill, and in the middle it was starting to rot, you know. So although this helichrysum is local and wild picked, but you know, before it went and distilled, it wasn't how you wanted it to be. And there's no way of you to know this. And I cannot promise you any brand, and I would not like to say any brand is better than other. But definitely you can go and see a lot of these distillers are proud of what they're doing. And one thing that you can be sure of is the more people you have in between, the more chances you have that something's happening, you know, diluting and whatever. So I would say go as close as you can to the person who actually distilled, because people who I know who distill, they're just way too proud to do anything to their oils. You know, this is their passion, their life.
Somebody
I'm sorry,
has asked,
it's not a good answer.
Is there a particular place to go and see that you would recommend when we can all travel again?
From distilleries? Oh yeah, all of them. It depends where you are. So all of these people who are in Dropsmith, and you can see that here, sellers, I'm pretty sure you can see all of them, you know. So you just Oshadi, I know that they have workshops. I actually was teaching for them last year in Provence, and then you can meet some of the distillers they do. So they're a big company. They obviously have from all kinds of distillers, but you can then get a feel of the qualities they're looking for. Floriana in France, definitely very interesting to see. Alan is the director. He has a very special way of distilling. He created his own stills it was his design. He's actually an engineer. It's really interesting to see, because his is completely different from Phoebe, for example. That's Claire from Arizona. She does small stills, and she does in copper, which is completely different from Floriana, because, you know, he doesn't believe in copper. Because it can be reactive, but it's different opinions again, and you have to decide which one works for you. If you want to learn more about distilling, Marco Valusi, I sincerely recommend him. He's awesome, and his knowledge on distilling, it's just great. And now he has his own oils, so you can check out his oils and his distillery in Italy. Yeah, so any of these ones here, you can probably go and see what they're doing. But did I manage to answer that?
And then the other question was, or the antivirals one, which would be really important. But Maya said that she had looked for different types of myrtles and came across the term nature identical, which simply meant that synthetics had been added for the scent, but sold as essential oil.
What should I say there?
I don't know. I just thought we could just be collectively angry about it. So the next question,
I think essential oil. I think there's on any lesson that I start from beginning, but you're all aromatherapists here. I actually, one of my first slide is distill, and then I kind of just bombard you with questions, and you actually know all the answers. But one of them is, what is an essential oil? It is distilled or cold pressed, and that's it. Everything else is just not an essential oil. We don't need to comment it at all. Okay. And also, it's natural. When I see these signs on bottles, they say 100% natural essential oil. Yeah, well, how could it be anything else than 100% and natural? I mean, we are not distilling shoes here, people. It's one of those marketing things. They have to do something to be different. But in that respect, if you need to help someone, and for example, that person will feel better because when he or she smells the perfume of her partner, in my opinion, if that's helping her, to feel better, even though it's synthetic, I'm for it. The ultimate goal here is to help out. So if she's going to feel good smelling some synthetic perfume, well, that's just what helps her.
So the next one then would be a good rabbit warren to dive down, is best antiviral oils recommendations.
Yeah. It's a hard one. It's an impossible one, actually. So the best one would be the one that's best for you. So for example, Eucalyptus globulus, as we mentioned 100 times, would definitely be something good to use. But it depends which virus you are attacking, So for Eucalyptus globulus, if we found what it was active on, let's see, where is it, antiviral? So on mumps, it definitely has, research that it was, and on HSV. But, on this particular virus, I don't know if it will help you. But on these ones, it definitely has shown some activity. And I definitely also recommend you click on read more and read how that was conducted. Is there a dose they used and things like that. So it depends. If you can go down to the virus, if we can find the essential oil for the exact virus you're using for it, then that's the best one for you. And also it's the best one that's safe. So the eucalyptus would not be something I would use on my daughter because, she's still young. I like to use myrtle for her and for me, actually, because it's local and it's far safer for our child. See, because of its beautiful chemistry, and it still has 1,8-cineol, but not at such a intense percentage, but it's still 30%, which is very useful. And it has other stuff, antiviral. See, it has alpha pinene and camphor and other nice components that add to the antiviral. So my vague answer, I'm sorry, would be the best one is the best one that works for you. But let me show you how you can get closer to the answer. So we can choose a few oils, like you can choose that Eucalyptus globulus that I've been mentioning a lot, so to comparison, and then my myrtle, and then which one? Let's say a pine. And there's something completely different. Let's find something completely different. Let's look at Melissa. No, that's too expensive to use at this time. Let's find something cheap. Tea tree. Everybody has tea tree at home, I'm guessing, or if you haven't used it completely up right now. Okay. So I'm going to compare these oils. So this is something you can do now. If you subscribe to our Power Drops, you're going to get Dropsmith for free until the end of the month. So you can use and play with it and print your heart out. Okay. And then what I would do, I would compare these oils. So let's say these are the oils I'm considering, or these are the oils you have in your cupboard. And then I would compare their properties. Okay, so all are really good antibacterials. And then I can go, and this one works on this. Mm-hmm. And this you can actually search in Dropsmith. You can search, let me show you. For example, you can go down to the bacteria itself and see which oils mention it. Okay, so you can really get down on it. Where is it now? Oh, okay. So then you can compare. And what I like to compare is also how I would use it. And then, of course, scroll down to safety. So see here, you would see that dwarf pine has the least of these safety recommendations. So that might be something that I would feel more comfortable with than with all of these things, you know, that's potentially carcinogenic and, you know, and then also it tells you how to use it. This one I might not want to use. Are you surprised with tea tree that it can actually possible contact allergy and dermatitis? Did you know that? And you can also see that through the chemistry, why that happens. So even though you have these oils that you use for many years, you might be surprised of the safety recommendations, and they're always connected to the chemistry. So let me show you with the tea tree. Can I show you? Yes. Am I going too far again?
I've got a couple of questions to ask you again.
So with the tea tree, you know, I saw a lot of books and recommendations and stuff on sites that say that tea tree you can put directly on skin. But see, Caren tells you not to, so please listen to him. And it's very clear if you look at the chemistry why. You know, it has a lot of monoterpenes and they dry your skin and they can oxidize very quickly. So if you know that kind of stuff from chemistry, then once you look at this pie chart, you already know this is not something I'm going to put on my skin neat, you know. I'm just not, because you can really sensitize your skin. And it's there, right there, looking at you in yellow, in orange. So things like that, you know, and in Dropsmith it's easier to remember and, you know, and to compare. So if you're not sure which oil to use, I urge you to compare them, and then you get your oil or answer quickly. And for antiviral, in this moment, there are no oils that have been tested for, you know, coronavirus. So I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I can't help you there. But these are the oils that have been tested for other viruses, so you might want to try and, you know, disinfect the air with it, although this is not a lot of help in the air as well. It's better to put it on your mask or somewhere near your face, or to disinfect surface areas, your hands, and just keep safe, I guess.
So Nikki is saying, so to summarize, a good and effective antiviral blend, are you saying that it is best to use less oils in a blend?
Well, for me personally, I like to use less, as in less than five or less, because then I have more control. Yeah. But for example, look at Eucalyptus globulus and tea tree. They're not that similar. I might want all these lovely monoterpene alcohols in there, so it would make sense to blend them, you know? Yeah. Or well, myrtle by itself, it's very complex. So do you really want to dilute it? It depends. It really depends. I do think that blending oils it makes sense. It gives us more synergy. We just have to be clear on what we're blending and why. You know, I'm just not don't want to promote putting in oils and then something will work. Well, then you're diluting your oils. Put in something that actually works, and it's not that hard to figure out what works. And if you put less, as in less different oils, you have again more control to add something there or to try a different blend next time. But be aware of also, that's why I wanted to add here. So for everything that's in there has references. So please do read them, you know, just go to the abstract at least and see if there is if there's any more information on the dose they used and how they used it, because this is where the effectiveness actually comes in. Sometimes if you use it too little, then it's not, especially for, you know, viruses and things like that. It has to be at a certain dose. I'm not promoting, you know, dipping yourself into oils, definitely not. But if it's not at a certain dose, it will not be effective. Also, if you put too much, it might be too much, as in, you know, for example, like saw tea tree, or for example, if you use cinnamon essential oil, which is wonderful for killing all sorts of stuff, but it will burn your skin, and then you will have to actually get infected even more, because your skin is, you know, now sensitive to getting even more spread the infection.
So Carol has picked out another an essential oil that's one of my favorites, actually. Do you have any information on Eucalyptus stageriana? It is she says, it is an oil I use a lot and my clients love it, but would like to know if others use it a lot, and does it have very good antiviral properties?
Let's see if we have it. Which one? Eucalyptus?
Eucalyptus stageriana. I don't think you've have it, because I'm sure I've looked for it before.
Oh, well, you should definitely write to me and the company you have it from.
Okay.
And then maybe we can get in touch with them and try to put it. I'm sorry, no. But if you have a GCMS, then you can see which are the dominating components. Does it fit into this group? And you see, eucalyptus is the sad thing is that there's not a lot of research on a lot of these varieties. Not only research, but not a lot of things on the application as well. You know, a lot of authors do write about mostly globulus. Some write a little bit on radiata. We found tiny bit of information on dives, citradora, but that's where it stops. You know, it's just hard to get information.
And then someone has asked, could you just show the comparison method as well? How you do the comparison?
Sorry. I would love to show you everything, but I'm just so here, when you come over any essential oil, this is to blend and this is to compare. So if you click it here, it will come on the left side, you know, and here where you find the blend, and here you will find the comparison. So you just add or subtract. I already have 4 oils, so I have to clear them. Whatever you like, and you can just go through it and click it, or you can search for whatever you like, as in, I don't know, like that, like a certain oil or a certain indication, like relax.
And there's another really good question. If a blend of ours is only 30% antiviral, is it still fair to say it has antiviral properties, or should it have above a certain percent in order to say it has those qualities?
A very good question.
That's a really good question.
Let me show you in a big Ravensara. There are things to consider, and that depends where you're looking at. So these properties here have been calculated from the properties we found on each essential oil. So where's the real Ravensara? And if you look at our Ravensara, we did not find a lot of properties for this chemotype of Cinnamomum camphora. So we felt it was not responsible to add properties that were for Cinnamomum camphora essential oil if it was not chemotyped, because they're just so different between them. So the reason it might not be more than 30% might be a few reasons. One, that there was not any research done on it yet, or that it was done and it proved not to be antiviral, or that we don't read Chinese, so we haven't found it. But then do compare in your blend. Maybe the chemical components will tell you more. So here I will find antiviral chemical components. And yet again, we have 4,500 chemical components. So we did not find research on all of them. It has not been researched. So I will dare say Dropsmith is not perfect, which is very hard for a perfectionist. But we're doing our best. We're doing what we can with the information you have. So your blend might really not be 100% antiviral. Was that the question? Or antimicrobial?
No, if the blend had 30% antiviral properties,
yes. So
could you then still say that it was an antiviral oil? Or does it need to be, would you say, no, not really, it's got to be at least 50%?
Well, the percentage part, so first of all, the 30% might not be accurate because that information is just not available for many possible reasons. So it might be more antiviral than you expect. And the other thing is, you never know how synergy works, so 30% sometimes might be enough, sometimes not. It depends on how you're going to apply it again, and where and which method. I'm sorry, these things are so hard to answer. And I would not like to give you an answer that I'm not 100% about, I would say here about the dose. And when we're working with, for example, infections, is it acute infection or chronic? That's also very different, and how are you going? Is it on a child? Is it skin? Is it mucus? It's very, very different. It's very different and just so hard to have one answer. That's why that's also why it's beautiful, because aromatherapy is so holistic. You have to look each person individual, because they have different safety recommendations for every person.
So then just one last comment. Apparently Eucalyptus stageriana in Dropsmith, I think it was Carol that said that you may have it listed as lemon ironbark.
Ah, okay. It might be. Let me just go back. Yeah, the name thing, that's another. This one? Yes, see.
Yes.
Thank you so much for noticing. So that's why you should always look at both Latin and... Oh, excellent. We have research on it. Lovely. We do have it. See? It's just too many oils to keep up with.
Yeah.
And this is the great example of an oil that we actually did find research, but there's just so much more that the chemical components tell you.
They tell us, yeah.
So oils like these ones that are rare and that you have in your cupboard and you love them, then this can be very, very useful.
Does it have any antiviral properties?
See?
Yeah.
72%. I think that would...
There you go, Carol.
I think that's more than 30 that you were talking about before. So this one I would feel much more comfortable recommending. Yeah.
I hope that helps, Carol.
I hope that helps. And as I said, if you sign up now for Power Drops, you will get free access until the end of April, and you can play and use this. This was.
And how does everybody sign up for Power Drops?
This is our website, Power Drops. Sorry, now you're seeing everything. powerdrops.dropsmith.com, and you just put your email in there, and then you will get access to Dropsmith and to all the videos and materials you're giving out. It's all for free. It's all for free until end of April. We wanted to make that available for everyone. And then this is really cool. These are the people who wrote answers, because obviously I'm not a medical professional. And so I got Madeleine, Ruta, and Maria to answer some really, really specific questions you had on, for example, Ruta, we will be giving out her video on what actually a virus is, and coronavirus, how is it different? And, you know, she was very kind with that information. And she's actually a specialist in the area. So we're very lucky to get that, yeah.
And then Kit is asking, how much is it normally or post-April access to Dropsmith?
Well, we have monthly and yearly subscriptions. Let me just show you. So we have 19 euros per month and 195 a year. So it's like 50 cents a day if you
so I think it works out something like £14 a month when you're paying in British pounds, I think.
The idea behind it was if you have enough money to buy like one really good essential oil a month, you can afford Dropsmith. That was kind of, I didn't want to go above that because I really want you to have the information. So that's the part.
And then Kate is asking, it says in the properties that an oil is a penetration enhancer. What does that mean?
It means that it helps, it penetrates more quickly than you would expect. And it also absorbs more things that you would expect. For example, I think Limonan is one known penetration enhancer. Let me see. Yeah. And Limonan is in all citruses, for example, and a lot of different oils, like you see also in this one, we have over 20%. So just to keep in mind, when you use these oils, they might absorb more quickly than you expect. They might absorb other things that you do or do not want. So, for example, I like to blend a lemon with a heavier oil, like with vetiver, and then that will absorb more quickly, and maybe some molecules that might not come through. Whereas in wintergreen, I think it's also a penetration enhancer. So you're actually getting much more oil in than you're expecting, and things like that to keep in mind. It can go both ways. It can be useful or actually harmful. It's always with essential oils. You have to know the dose, what it's doing. And that's why I think it's crucial that we move forward and we talk more about this part, guys. You know, it's very important to know. It can help us do better blends. It can help us save money. Actually, it can help us get more information on the oils we already have. Give us more choice, more confidence. You know, also more arguments why you're using the oils. Because you have oils like, let's see. Look how much junipers we have, like different ones. This is one of a fun one. So we know a lot about junipers communion, but there's one. Let's find a weird one. One seed juniper. Who heard of that one? You know, and we have. Okay, we found some, but like not even Tisserand wrote any safety on it, so nothing. Okay, antibacterial, antifungal, that's good, but then you look at the properties and you have far more options what you want to do with this oil. You know, where to even start, because the safety is also connected to the chemical components. So this is what I'm trying to get across to the whole community. It's not so scary. Now I have a tool for it where we can, you know, build more from it, answer your questions, and hopefully it's helpful. It's helpful for you to understand and to use and to grow.
So one more question before we finish off. Is this the new way to blend? Is this the new way to blend rather than using blending factors?
I must admit, I don't know what blending factors are.
No, I'm not quite sure what blending factors are.
Can you write in what blending factors are and I'll start answering? So I would say no, which is not a very good marketing answer for me, I think. But also the reason I created Dropsmith was because I wanted to include as many people as possible. So I think you should Let me find just a blend for you to show you. I feel you should blend whatever works best for you. But, okay, this is the one Maria made for us. So whatever it is that you're blending, whatever your style is, whatever it is that you've been blending until now, it's fine. I think let's just move a step further and look at the safety issues, for example. That's very important to me. So once you actually do the blend, you can check out if it makes sense, you know, because that's all. I had all kinds of students who are chemistry doctors, and they really love this area. But I had Reiki students as well, you know, and she loved the chemistry part. She said, it's really wonderful because now when I make my blend intuitively, I can back it up very simply, you know. I can just see if that's fine, if that's safe. For example, if she then intuitively feels that somebody needs cinnamon, she will know not to use it on skin, you know, and she will use it in air or, you know. So I did not want to limit anybody or put anything in front of something. I just wanted to give you more options, you know, whether it's options as in using the oils that you already have, or whether it is just to make you feel safe with the approach that you have to aromatherapy, but to have that information to use as much as possible. And then I think ultimately it's about helping people. So if your blend is helping somebody, then we've done our job, you know.
So blending factors are, Emily says, I was taught that oils on a blending factor are between 1 and 12, 12 being very light, 1 being very strong and heavy. Bergamot is a 12, lavender is a 7.
Oh, so this might be in context of smell?
Is it smell or is it
well,
like
heaviness,
base note, middle note, light note type thing?
Yes, but what I'm hearing is, okay, that somebody might feel this as energy, but this is all chemistry, by the way. It's the same thing.
All comes back to chemistry.
Whether you like it or not, it is all about chemistry. And I can show you why. And because, and that's here when you were asking me the color.
Oh, Emily expands and said it was all about smell and oil functions.
Yeah, yes, of course. So when you, you can see that here. So all of these heavier molecules, that's why on your index, did I say it right? Those are also the heavier oils. So one with sesquiterpenes, and if you search for them, you will find the oils that you mentioned. You know, these are then the heavier oils because they have the heavier molecules, and then the smell is heavier. But it's actually all connected to the molecules. So all the sesquiterpene something, also it can be sesquiterpene alcohols, they will be the heavier oils. And this is chemistry, my dear, you know. So it's the same way of blending, it's just a different way of naming it. And Perfect. It's far easier to know the smell of the to predict the smell of the oil by looking at the chemistry. And I can tell you right away that this is a high note, you know, because it has a lot of monoterpenes. And if you don't agree with me, just put it on a piece of paper and you'll see that it will evaporate very quickly, and that's what defines a high note. I'm sorry.
Perfect. Well, Melanie, thank you so much. We have taken up so much of your time.
I just hope that I answered questions because we went so off topic, and but you know, I like to give you a different perspective. I hope I didn't confuse you, that this was beneficial to you. It was really my intention to promote a different kind of thinking. This is something I can provide for you. I think this is something that, you know, I can contribute. Talking about lavender and how it affects your sleep, it's something that we all know already. You know?
It's an incredibly useful tool and a really great resource for the blending aromatherapists. So thank you so much for creating such a fantastic product to support us. But thank you so much for giving us your time today.
It was my pleasure, and I hope it was useful, because I'm so excited about all of this kind of thinking and blending, and I just hope it was useful for you, really do.
No, it's just great to be able to
I can't hear you, you know, so I don't know.
Great to be able to use, you know, to ask you lots of questions as well. So there's lots of lovely comments in there for you to read later.
How do I come back to say?
So I think if you stop the sharing. I think
Oh.
I've done that. There you go.
Okay, I'm
and
back.
Then you're back, and you should be able to see the chat box down the bottom.
Oh, yes.
But,
okay, thank you.
We will let everybody else leave
so
and go
it's
and
fine.
have their lunch while we have a chat, maybe. But I hope you guys have found that really helpful and interesting, and maybe you can, thank you, Donna, you go and sign up to Melanie's free course where you get more access to Dropsmith and time to play and learn a bit more about antiviral oils, where she expands on what she talked about today. So maybe I will send you a link out in an email with a direct link to it, just in case you can't find it.
Yeah, and on my Facebook page, you can click me and find me and Dropsmith, and we'll have link there. And
yeah,
I hope you enjoyed it.
Plenty of access. Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining.